in verse 11, 1 John 4. If God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. Now watch this. If you hang out in a flower shop, you're going to start smelling like flowers. You hang out in a flower shop, that smell going to rub off on you. If you hang out in a perfume shop or area of a store with perfume and cologne, you're going to start smelling like cologne because that's where you're hanging out. In other words, your environment affects how you look or smell. God says, watch this, I am caught up in a love fest, and I am love. If you are not loving, it's because you ain't hanging out in my shop. You in somebody else's shop. Because I am love. That's my store. My store is called love. If you are hanging out in that store, love is rubbing off on you. So if you are a loveless Christian, you shopping at the wrong store. Let me put it another way. God will determine how much he deals with you by how much you deal with others. Please notice the words here. This is serious business. He says in verse 8, the one who doesn't love doesn't know me. He says in verse 12, God, if we love one another, God abides in us and his love is perfected in us. He says in verse 16, if the one who abides in love abides in God and God abides in him. He says in verse 20, the one who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. So he says, forget about it. You cannot have an intimate experience with me if others can't have an intimate experience with you. If you do not know how to love or refuse to love, you won't feel my love. He restricts the experience of himself to believers who are functioning in love as a lifestyle. Okay, you're not getting this. God is love. That's who he is. So he only hangs out with love. So since he is love and he only hangs out with love, if that's not how you roll, he can't hang out with you. Because he would then be hanging out with something that's not like him. That who you are and who I am, even though you're my child, because he's talking to Christians. That's why it says one another. He's not talking about the world right here. He's talking about love within the family of God. That's why if the devil can make you selfish, the devil can make you hateful, the devil can make you mean and ornery and nasty and unforgiving, if he can put all of that stuff in you, he knows God's going to leave you alone because you're not hanging out where he's hanging out. He only hangs out with that which is consistent with who he is, and he's already told you who he is. He is love. The word abide